Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about the overall political situation. Of course, there have been reports of perhaps a rift between the PML-N leader, the PPP leadership, Bilawal, Bhutto, Zardari and Asif Ali Zardari Sahab. Whether there's any accuracy to it at all, we'll be talking about this. Whether it has to do with an old style of governance versus a new style of governance, experience versus dynamism, whatever one may call it. We'll be talking about that, if there's any truth to it or it's just rumor mongering. Also, we'll be talking about that. Of course, we've also seen the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif Sahab address today when in Sialkot, and he spoke about whether there's any kind of relief to be found in bringing inadequate and inefficient leaders into power. We'll be talking about other things he said today and its ramifications on the overall political process and the stance of the PML-N as one of the leading parties that is going to walk into the elections on the February 8th, the impact it will have on their own voters and how they view the party as a whole. All of that today on Perspective. We will also a little later on combine this discussion with the economic impact of the new elections also, and also the economic manifesto and its importance to each political party, whether we talk about the PML-N, whether we talk about the PPP, whether we talk about the Istiqamah party, also all the main political parties and how they view economics as integral to the elections, as integral to their manifestos or not, and are they going to be changing their policies with regard to that. All of that today on Perspective. I have with me today Dr. Nasir Iqbal, who's head of PIDE Macro Policy Lab. Thank you for being with us today. We also have with us Zulfikar Ali Bader, who is spokesperson of Chairman PPP, Bilawal, Bhutto, Zardari. We also have with us Shezra Mansab Ali Khan Kharal, who is with the PML-N. Thank you for joining us today. Ji, I'm going to go to Shezra and then I'll follow. Ji, Shezra, there is, we all heard the address of the former Prime Minister today as he spoke about the, the eventual result of bringing inadequate or inefficient leaders into power. There's little doubt that he was talking about the former Prime Minister. Do you see, I mean, as far as the PML-N is concerned, is it now their policy that they are going to, perhaps move away from, the traditional style of politics and walk towards a more dynamic style? How do you view this narrative now?
Thank you very much for inviting me to the program. PML-N is a very mature party. We've seen a lot, we've been through a lot. All the senior members have seen, sham democracies, they've seen hybrid systems, they've seen, a lot. And it's a mature party. We've never really indulged in politics where we target our opponents. Mia Nawaz Sharif's vision is for the betterment of Pakistan, for a more stable Pakistan, and especially now when Pakistan has been destabilized so much in the last 5 years of the previous PTI government. We think that it's extremely important to look forward to try and take Pakistan out of this quagmire, which we have been trying even in the last 16 months of the PML-N government that Shahbaz Sharif had. We tried to save as much as was possible from the wreck that had been left, which shows now actually in the better review that we have from the IMF, from all the policies that we did in the 16 months. Now we're getting fruits of that, and we are going to try and work for that, for the betterment of Pakistan.
Fair enough. Let me go to Zulfikar Ali Bader Sahab, and then I will come back to you. Ji, Zulfikar Sahab, you heard what Shezra said. I want to later come to the economic manifestos and how each party will view them. But overall, what is your how would you respond to this this new piece of news, or what one can call it, about your leadership, your key leadership, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari Sahab and Asif Ali Zardari Sahab?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Mahrukh, for inviting me to your show. We are very clear about what Mr. Asif Ali Zardari Saab has said and Mr. Bilawal Bhutto. There is no difference. They are on the same page, and there is no difference between them, because Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari have been, getting advised from Mr. Asif Ali Zardari, and Mr. Asif Ali Zardari have been mentoring Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari on a lot of issues, because during the last 16 months government, I have seen that Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari have been, taking guidance from Mr. Zardari, and he have been telling him that what to do and what not to do. So there are a lot of rumors, and there is no reality about the things which have been hearing us on the media, on the social media, that there is a difference between father and son's opinion. There may be difference of opinion. Yeah.
Bader Sahab, is it not true that perhaps, there are rumors alluding to the fact that Bilawal Bhutto Zardari perhaps wants to toe a more dynamic line and less traditional style of politics, which his father is known by? Is that accurate or no?
You see, Asif Ali Zardari Saab has his own style of doing politics, and Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari is following the style which people want to listen to from him. The politics of passion, the politics of crowd, the politics of connectivity with the people. So he has been doing. He went on a visit to KP, and he met few of the leaders. He addressed few of the jalsas and public gatherings, few workers conventions. But
Bader Sahab, when we see remarks like perhaps it's time to do away with the old and move on to the new, or there are perhaps, would you agree that there is this the two styles are very, very different, and perhaps a voter that may associate itself, a younger voter, with Bilawal Bhutto Zardari may not necessarily do so with that style of politics that his father perhaps offers. Is that true or no?
You see, every individual who is contesting election in his constituency has his own unique style. So Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari is more focused towards his own way of doing politics, of politics of the youth, politics of the women, addressing, not doing politics of divide and hatred. And Asif Ali Zardari Saab has been very quiet and very diplomatic about managing things, not to get into fight with anyone. So Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari is more focused that all those people who have been performing in the last few decades, who have not actually contributed in Pakistan, in the progress of Pakistan, they should sit back home. And this was a generalized political statement, and the people who have been reacting to that statement, that means they have taken it to their heart. So if they are publicly involved, and they have
can you confirm for us if Faratullah Babar Sahab has left because of perhaps the same reasons or no?
Faratullah Babar Sahab left because of his own personal reasons. This is not because Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari said the statement about that old people should get aside, because Pakistan People's Party leadership believes that youth and the experienced leaders, they both are necessary for each other, and this combo is very important for the party, because this party has the experienced leaders and the youth. So both are very
fair enough. Let me come back to you. On that note, let me come back to you. I'm going to go to Nasir Saab here. Nasir Saab, as far as this, the two major political parties are concerned, let's talk about the PML-N and the PPP. Do you think, how important is the economic agenda going to be for them and for their voters?
Thank you so much. So, if you look into the way that these political parties define their narrative and the agenda for the last 3 decades, they have a clear line of action. Like the one party primarily focused on the infrastructure-led growth and development, and other party looking to primarily into the welfare and the societal development part of the thing. And the third main party that previously was part of the government, they primarily look into the reform agenda and the human capital development. So these, like the big parties, have a different narrative. Now, what would be the future of these parties and how they define their economic agenda? PIDE recently did a study that shows that most of these parties don't have a clear strategy or reform agenda, especially when they are developing their manifestos, when they are making some sort of promises while they are running their election campaign. So to me, if they are really looking for the revival of the economy, if they are really looking for the survival of this economy, and if they are really looking for the development of the economy, they have to redefine their manifestos. They have to come up with a clear line of action related to the economy of the Pakistan. Rather than blaming like the old versus young, rather than blaming the what the previous government has did. So these are the comments and the narrative they are selling over the last 3 to 4 decades. But probably this time I'm sure that this will not work at all, because the economic situation that we have, it required a lot of innovation. You know, if we look into the other economies, those are especially growing within even in current economic recession. They have a clear strategy. They believe
so you
on
expect there to be there needs to be a clearer strategy than a broad-based one, which we've perhaps seen in the past.
Of course, apart from that, they must show to people that how they can achieve those promises.
Those goals. That okay, so goals are not going to be enough to say. Let me go to Shezra on this. Shezra, there's, a lot of people believe this, and here, of course, Dr. Nasir from PIDE is also saying the same thing, essentially, that just giving out, goals, lofty goals for any political party, which we've seen in the past also, isn't going to be enough. There's going to have to be very clear, set out initiatives that each government intends to take for results, considering the state of the economy at this time. Is the PML-N working on this? Are there clear economic goals that you will perhaps achieve year to year?
Yes, I absolutely agree with this. There has to be a dynamic manifesto that addresses the problems of today and what we're facing right now. We need to address that, and we need to have a clear strategy about that. And Pakistan Muslim League Noon has already a team in place, a very dynamic team with all, which will try to cover all aspects of our manifesto. And our manifesto is going to be presented very soon to the public. And then the public will obviously decide. It's the public who has to decide what manifesto is being presented by which party, and then they decide who they are going to vote, which manifesto they believe is going to work for the public and for their good and for the stability of Pakistan. So yes, definitely.
We saw the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif Saab speak today, and he said that if you look at the past, how things were, before the last government came into play, and when PML-N was heading the government, those are the patterns, those are perhaps that is the direction that the PML-N aims to go for. Is that correct? Is the PML-N going to follow the same path?
What he meant when he says this is that from 2013 to 2017, Pakistan had gained a lot. There was stability. We were becoming a stable economy. We were getting foreign investment. The GDP was at a stable and at a good rate. The inflation was down. Things of everyday use were affordable. The petrol prices and everything else was affordable. We were trying to get new foreign investment. Me and Nawaz Sharif had launched the CPEC, which was we were hoping would improve the living conditions of the people of Pakistan. So that is the basic agenda.
Shezra, there is, the last government, of course, your stance has been, the PML-N stance has been that if we look at the last 16 months of the PDM government, the challenges were extreme, and correct me if I'm wrong, and also that it was a multitude, the government itself comprised of a multitude of, parties. But is it, even after the elections, of course, the challenges, one can only say, have increased. They have not, diminished. So in that kind of a challenging economic environment, perhaps there needs to be a rethink of economic policies now. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that, and that's exactly what I was going to say, that what Mia Nawaz Sharif meant was not that the policies would be exactly the same. The policies will obviously be according to the need of the time now. We've already had this IMF deal, which the previous government made. And when the Mia Shahbaz Sharif government came, they only had to, sort of take that and try to stabilize that policy that had already been made, which we tried to do and which we have, I think, managed to do and succeeded in doing. And so the stability that was there from 2017 from 2013 to 2017 is what we are aiming for when Pakistan was on a path towards betterment.
Okay,
and the policies will obviously be devised according to the need of the time, according to where Pakistan is now.
I will come back to you on that, and I also want to talk about perhaps a more, does the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif Sahab mean a more empowered, a more democratic, perhaps style of governance when he says that of course now things have to move in a quick, dynamic manner. I will come back to you on that. I'm going to go to Zulfikar Ali Bader Sahab. Zulfikar Sahab, as far as the PPP is concerned, your agenda is concerned, as far as your welfare agenda is concerned, are we going to be looking at a rethink in terms of the policies also as far as the PPP is concerned, or are you going to stick by, of course traditionally there was roti kapda makan, a more perhaps a semi-socialist, one can call it. Is that going to continue? Are you going to continue in the same vein, or is there going to be perhaps a change in the overall policy of the PPP also?
Absolutely, we have to rethink about it, because the basics of our slogan is going to be the same. Our philosophy, our ideology, food, cloth and shelter, that slogan is going to be the same, but we have to add value according to the recent changes, according to the coming, if we look at the future, we have to transform and add value to our manifesto, especially in the political economic situation, the way Pakistan is going through and the way the challenges we are facing currently, and we have to think about the upcoming challenges of Pakistan. So there is no question that we are not going to rethink or review about the political economic policy, because it is necessary and it is absolutely so important for us that we have to add value to it. And that is not going to be limited to the development of the country. That has to add value on the education, on health, and on the energy, on the equality, on on different sectors of
Mr.
different.
Bader, overall, as far as all, do you think that all political parties are perhaps, if you talk about the PML-N and PPP also, both political parties are in this sense perhaps, trying to get that combination of old and new that may work, because we see a young dynamic leadership in Mariam Nawaz as far as the PML-N is concerned, with of course her father, who is as far as the PML-N is concerned, the most beloved leader as far as the public is concerned, and he has come from England now to take the reins of the party and to overall take the reins of the whole electoral campaign of the PML-N. On the other hand, we also see the PPP with Asif Ali Zardari Sahab and Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. So, that combo itself is something that both major political parties are at this time looking at. Would you agree with that?
You see, we respect Mia Nawaz Sharif Sahab. the situation at the ground is different because Mia Nawaz Sharif Saab was out of Pakistan for a few years, and he will have to work really hard because of the ground reality and the challenges he's facing right now. And but I wish them luck. They have their own party, they have their own agenda. But I can only talk about my party and our leadership. Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari and Miss Asifa Bhutto Zardari is going to take a lead, and Asif Ali Zardari is going to sit back and mentor them for the election and for other political strategies. Our main focus.
But Badr maybe you're old. I mean, one of the challenges that your political party may face, and of course, correct me if I'm wrong, is that your old leadership, your political leaders who have been with the party for decades. Do you think that this might be a challenge for them to perhaps, work with the new dynamic leadership, or no?
You see, Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari is a very charismatic man and very visionary, and he understands that respecting elders and taking them along and utilizing their experience for his own politics is very important. And he is not going to left any of those people with so much of experience behind him. So he is going to take them along. So what he is focusing on the transformation of the innovative leadership, because innovation is the new name of leadership. He has to bring in the innovation for the country within the party, and he has to tag along all the leaders of the old school and of the new, cause the transactional and the transformational.
But
So coming from
that's an interesting phrase you've used. I mean, I must comment on that. Tag along.
Thank you.
And let me on that.
Because he doesn't have a choice. He doesn't have a choice, because if he is going to leave everybody behind, he has to take everybody along, because it is the necessity. He is not going to leave anyone behind him. So this is the necessity, and he is of the opinion that he is not going to leave anyone behind. I am very certain about it. And absolutely, this is the time where it's high time where he has to, take full advantage of the old experienced people, and plus he has to put in energy and vision and passion with a lot of energy and vitality in the politics within the PPP and for the betterment of the country and its people, to take them out of the challenges of the future and the current challenges, because there is a number of challenges. It's not only about the inflation or price hike or of the governance. There are a number of other challenges he is the only person.
He's the only person. We will talk about what you perceive or your party perceives as the major challenges for them as far as governance is concerned. Let me go to Dr. Nasir. Dr. Nasir, you've heard what PML-N and the PPP both say about economic agenda, generally speaking. Perhaps it's a little too soon, and of course we are looking at them working on their manifestos also. But overall, in terms of the new and old debate, we've seen, the slogan of Naya Pakistan, the slogan of change fail. But at the same time, I don't know the exact statistics, I don't want to misquote, but there's a huge number of new voter that has been added. So you think that these major political parties are cognizant of that reality and how they have to perhaps bring a more innovative, a more new, kind of dynamism in their even manifestos, in their campaigning also?
I think before I comment on the economics, just to comment on the way the large political parties are thinking. They tried the young over the last 2.5 years to introduce them and to create some sort of buying for them, but now they realize that's not working. So they suddenly change their strategy and come back to the old tactics that they believe it's the next election would be primarily based on the electables and also based on the something from the other part of the power holder. So they believe, so now they realize and they revisit their strategy to approach the coming election. Related to the economics and how the political parties, it's not a new thing that that they are working on the manifesto and they are looking for the economic agenda. You know, they were in the power in different shapes. They have the provincial government in many times. They have the federal government most of the time. But you know, they never thought about the reforms. That is the key thing for the revival of the economy. To me, what PIDE is advocating over the last 3 to 4 years, that reforms are important for us. If we really have to break this debt trap, if we have to break this poverty trap, if we have to break this trap of this social disillusion and the social integration, so we have to work on the reforms. And reforms not only in terms of the reforms within the political parties, they must introduce the competition within the political party to make sure that the right person would lead the party. On the other hand, they should work on the economic reform agenda. And PIDE has advocated and also produced a very nice document that talk about all those reforms. They have to introduce the market-based reform, they have to privatize, they have to work on the institutional reform, they have to work on the reform of the civil servant, they have to work on each and every kind of reform. Look at the land reform, we never talk about that. Look at this.
Talk about that, and the pressure that it invariably means for any political party that comes into power. Let's ask Shezra this. Shezra, there is of course pressure on all political parties when one talks about the kind of reforms that are needed, at this time in Pakistan. When we talk about agricultural reforms, when we talk about like bureaucratic hurdles that are being faced in businesses, when we talk about those kind of dynamic reforms, that are needed and that are now long overdue. But when we are looking at a lot of joinings also within the PML-N. We saw that in Balochistan. We are according to your party also, there are numerous others expected within Punjab also. Is it going to be easy when so many people join the party and they have a history to undertake this agenda of reform, which is long overdue for any political party?
Well, talking in the context which we've been conversing about, change is inevitable. Change is not something that you can stop. Change is going to happen in any case, and we are cognizant of the fact that we have a huge population which is under 25 or 26. We have huge challenges lying ahead of us, especially because of the way that the country has been governed in the PTI government. So we do realize that we have all these challenges facing us. Mia Nawaz Sharif has made different teams which are going to all the provinces and the GB, trying to reconnect with the people, trying to listen to them, see what problems they are facing, what are their agendas. We have different teams in all the provinces. So even though, as you rightly pointed out, the last PDM government, obviously no party had full control of what was happening. All the parties were together. So in a way they might have been shackled, but in another way they were able to work together and at least stabilize Pakistan. Now the challenges that we are facing are going to be extremely hard. There is the economic agenda, there is the foreign policy, there is the internal problems that Pakistan is facing. So we are ready to face all those challenges. As I've said, PML-N is a mature party. They've been through a lot, and we are ready to face those challenges. We are working upon them, and we will not try to make these reforms an overnight thing, because it's not possible to do that. It's not possible to bring about.
But if there are a lot of, if there are at this time, people. There are so many joinings. Are they also going to be? Are these people who want to come to the PML-N cognizant of this dynamism, this reformist agenda that you are saying PML-N wants to stand for now? After, if it comes in governance.
I think every Pakistani knows that reforms are extremely important. and change or reforms is not something that can happen overnight. It's not like the previous government did, that just go for the other parties, just try to have this revenge. We don't have that revenge agenda. Reforms is something that happens slowly. It happens from the lower rung of all the departments or all the different people or all the different things.
Shezra, perhaps, I think as an experienced politician, I'm sure the PML-N is cognizant, is it not, of the fact that it may not have the kind of time, the kind of leeway that, you perhaps did in 2013, because the urgency is far greater now than it was then.
Yes, the urgency is definitely greater than it was in 2013, but we are all prepared for it. I think not only the PML-N, but all the other parties, or all the people who are joining PML-N. We discussed the agenda with them. We discussed the situation of the country with them. Even in 2018, when the election was obviously very rigged, and we were advised not even to go to the parliament, PML-N went to the parliament and even offered the government that let's work together for the betterment of the country. But our offer wasn't accepted. It's always when all the parties work together, when everyone works together for the reforms that are there. We've got one IMF agreement, I think. In the next
Shezra, there is, we've seen when Bilawal Bhutto Zardari Sahab talks, he says that, instead of giving someone who's going to be the Prime Minister of Pakistan the 4th time, give me a chance. How does the PML-N respond to that?
I think everybody has a right to ask for that chance. The decision lies with the public. It's the public who's going to vote, and it's the public who's going to see who becomes the Prime Minister. I think we should not underestimate the public. The public has seen what has been happening in the last 4 years. The public has seen all the parties. Every party has had a chance in different provinces, at least, if they haven't had it in the center. So the public has seen what every party has done. The public is going to see what the manifesto of the next party is going to be. And they are going to be the ones who are going to decide who's going to be the Prime Minister. It's not for us or the different politicians to ask each other, to let me become the politician or let the other person become the politician. There's nobody else except the public is going to decide who's going to become the next Prime Minister. But we are very sure and we are very confident that Mia Mohammad Nawaz Sharif is going to be the next Prime Minister. He's never had a term. He's never had the chance to actually complete a term. He's just had very short terms in his earlier terms, and we're hoping that this time he will become a Prime Minister and be allowed to complete his term, and then actually bring about a stable Pakistan.
Fair enough. Let me come back to you. Dr. Nasir, of course, the same question to you. Do you think it's fair, in your opinion, when, of course, the leadership of a party may change, but when we compare it, I mean, as far as the PPP is concerned, it's been in power a couple of times, more than a couple of times, one has to say also. So only the leadership in this instance will change, and that can be true for any other party also.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I comment on that, we just completed a survey just to see how people perceive this upcoming election. The one key thing that come out of that analysis is that they believe that the next election would only help to revive the economy if there is a fair competition.
Okay.
So the one key finding is that. The second key thing that come out of that analysis is the relevance of the election.
Okay.
That these hybrid type of political model that we are facing over the last few years, especially in the last 2 years, and the coming election, as one party say that it would be like a coalition government, and another believe that we will get enough number to form a government. The relevance of these parties depends on the fair competition, how the election would be held, and how the general people feel that where they voted actually they are elected and they run the government. So that is the key thing.
You're saying the will of the people.
Yeah, the will of the people, and we must honor the will of the people if we really want to create a stability. Because you in the earlier you said the PML-N also believes that the political stability is important if we really have to revive. Yeah, and again it's absolutely true. And if we really have to revive our economy, political stability is super important. Even PIDE study shows that it reflected like 3 to 4% loss to GDP. That is even 3 times what we are spending on our social sector. So even this political stability, it will also discourage the investor. That would be the need of the hour. You know, we established this SIFC.
Which is what Shezra is saying, that we want a stable government that completes its term.
Of course, whatever the government, the issue is give a chance to everyone. They compete based on their manifesto, their economic agenda. People evaluate. They must have a debate, online debate at the TV and the social media to convince general public, look, we are coming with this economic agenda. We will go for reforms. We will introduce such type of reform that on the one hand revive the economy, reboost the economic growth, and also provide some sort of leverage to the poor segment of the society. You know, we are facing 30% of inflation. It's outlier in the region. Our growth is negative. There is no other country where there is a negative growth. Our per capita GDP is much lower than the neighboring countries, and the interest rate is much higher. Like we are running, we are at the 22% of interest rate. Still, over the last 2 years, over the last 2 days, we are hearing news that the exchange rate would further increase and the devaluation will further continue, and it goes up to the 300 peak year. So these type of the economic condition would
I want to,
mean
Dr. Nasir, also ask you that I don't want to underestimate the voter, but how do you think our voter actually? Let's talk about Punjab, for example. I feel that consistently we are also perhaps underestimating. But do you think that that voter is going to vote on the economic agenda?
Of course, as I earlier said,
there is a Baradari system in place. There is an electable also of the clout that electables allow in area.
There
Those
is a
factors.
Swing voter.
Okay.
And as you said in your intro, that there is a significant increase in the youth voter. And they believes on reforms, and they believes on economic reforms especially.
You think there's a fair number of the youth which is going to be looking fairly
of course, there are
areas
where you can say that electable will matter, and the both political parties, especially Noon and the PPP, realize that narrative, and they try to buy those electable just to make sure that they have enough seat to form a government in the upcoming election. But still there is a significant number those believes on reforms. The real issue for these two political parties is to convince the voter. The almost all surveys shows a different pictures, but they are projecting over here. They believe that they convince their voter, but not. Surely that's what I talk, that the competition and the equal opportunity to all people should be ensured.
Definitely, I agree with you. Let me go to Shezra on this. I want to ask her also. Shezra, there is, on the one hand, of course, we are looking at people joining the PML-N also. A lot of there's a large number of them. How important do you think it's going to be to the young voter? These electables versus the agenda that you give out. As far as the PML-N is concerned, what's your take on this? For the elections now.
Well, I very strongly believe that we need to trust in the judgment of the people. I think the public and their opinion, the voter and her or his opinion is supreme. And, there's been a favorite change in how these young people perceive what's happening in the country, and the way that they have information about what's happening in the country. So I think with that shift, we need to realize that people it might not seem that way, but everybody, all these people are now, all these younger people especially are now judging and they're seeing what's happening. They have a sense of history. They have a sense of what's been happening in the country. They're going to they're going to have their own judgment. And as far as PML-N is concerned, we are aware of this change, and with Maryam Nawaz Sharif as the chief organizer, she has been trying to galvanize the women of the country. She has tried to galvanize the youth of the country. We've tried to make sure that all the different people, from all over the country, are aware of what we are offering, are aware of what we offered in our previous government and what happened in the meantime. So I think they will make a wise decision. I'm very sure of it.
Right, fair enough. Let me go to Zulfikar Ali Bader Sahab. Ji, Zulfikar Sahab, do you, as far as how do you think the voter is going to take when we talk about again the two styles of governance, the old versus the new? Party people who are joining, for example, the PPP, and your party says that more will join, even in Punjab. How do you think the new voter is going to view that? You think that they are accepting and they will accept, as Shezra says, or you think that they're perhaps not as open to the idea? What is your overall opinion on this?
I think it's going to be very challenging for the person who is electable or who is contesting, because you cannot actually anticipate who the voter is going to vote for, because more than 25 million people have added on to the voter list and as a young voter, and the 67% of the youth is under the age of 40. So if you combine all those people who are going to actually vote, they have to vote for their own likes and dislikes. The people who are from old school of thought or who have been transactional style, they are not going to vote for them, because they have their own taste of, and it depends on the party, their manifesto, on the character of the person who is contesting, and loyalty to the party is going to matter. Because if you see in the recent past elections or by-elections, PML-N lost 20 of their seats in the by-elections. All those voters, they left one party and they joined PML-N for the sake of benefit, and PML-N gave them the tickets. And all those, they all lost because voter did not vote for them. Even the political parties' old voters, they did not vote for them. So it's going to be a very interesting and challenging election, because you have to convince and you have to connect with the voter, whether you are a old school or whether you are a new school. You have to convince the voter by all means, and you have to come up with the idea that you are going to create an impact and make a difference for the betterment of the country, and you are going to be their true representative.
That difference also, perhaps, that's might come in the form of candidates also. I mean, that is something perhaps.
Yes, that's one of the factors. You see, that's one of the factors, and that's a very important factor. That's a very important factor, and parties will have to look into that factor.
So this formula is necessarily, it may not work, the old formula. Would you agree with that?
You see, it's not going to be the same formula for every constituency, for every province, every city. You have to come up with a new formula for every constituency. There has to be a combo of different formulas for every constituency, because somewhere you are going to get a support of the caste, brotherries. Somewhere you have to
fair
get
enough.
the
I just want to, unfortunately, I'm running out
minority.
of time. Thank you so much, Zulfikar Ali Bader Sahab. Thank you so much, Shezra Mansab. Thank you for your time. Dr. Nasir, one quick question. As far as, do you think, is there going to be a change? And does there have to be a change, or do you think this nobody can win versus an electable, considering this new voter, or you think that the old formula has, some meat to it?
I think if we give a like open chance to everybody and they compete with each other, and especially if we restrict them to compete based on their economic manifesto and their economic debate, probably there be a change. But if we think that
but for that the voter has to rise above its Baradari consideration, its clout consideration, all of those things.
Yeah, of course, you know, there is a segment, there is a portion of the society where this will remain for
reality.
Upcoming election. But there are few areas, especially in urban areas, in the central Punjab, even in the Karachi, that is a major hub, and especially in the KPK, they believes on reforms. They will vote for reforms, and if we allow all these political parties to compete based on reforms, there must be a change. And we should realize one thing, that unless we give an equal opportunity to everyone to compete and to win and to form a government. Otherwise, any new system and any selected government that we talk about over the last 5 years, that any selected government may not deliver because they don't have a strong footing.
Fair enough. Thank you so much for being with us today. Of course, the formula old or the new, the question is that the voter, of course, will determine whether they want a more dynamism or a more dynamic approach to what each party is selling to them, and in terms of manifestos, in terms of the agenda, whether it's reformist, whether it's an agenda that's going to talk about an all-out reform, whether it's going to be an old school thought process behind what it gives to the people. But of course, you know, the reality at this time seems to be that there is a change with a lot of young voter that has been added, and what they may be looking for may not necessarily be what was earlier so important. So I think those factors are going to have to be really important for each political party. Thank you so much for joining us today on Mansab.